It's a deal that moves the ball in the right direction. It cuts the deficit without raising taxes by cutting spending in smarter ways than the across-the-board approach. A lot of our members were worried about all the defense cuts. We're stopping the military from cutting further, and we're cutting spending in smarter ways on autopilot programs that have been untouched for years by Congress. And we're doing it in a way to make sure that there's no tax increases and that we actually lower the deficit versus doing nothing.
That was Congressman Paul Ryan sounding optimistic about the bipartisan budget deal struck with his Senate counterpart. It's the first one in years. But the agreement is already facing opposition from the more conservative members of his own party. Texas Congressman Louie Gohmert joins us now to talk about it. Hi, Congressman.
Hi, Allison.
How do you feel? Good to have you. How do you feel about this budget deal?
Well, I appreciate so much Paul's great work. He obviously had a thankless task before him. He's extremely competent.
But
the problem is that when the Budget Control Act was passed, I was not for it. I didn't think sequesters were a good way to make appropriate cuts. The military should not have been decimated the way it was in that bill. But it actually made cuts for a change. And what we were told back then, Allison, was that this is the starting point, that not only would this be a start in bringing down our growth of government, but it would actually be the starting point and we could continue to cut in future years. And then what we've seen is it's still, we held together here for a while, but now this bill on average we're told will cut $23 billion over 10 years. Most of that's in the out years, not this year. And if you look at that from the standpoint of even on average $2.3 billion out of, say, very roughly a $3 trillion budget, you're talking about, oh, good, we save about 2-3 thousandths of a dollar.
So Congressman, I mean, basically what I'm hearing you say is that it doesn't go far enough for you. Now, remember, this bill...
Well, no, wait a minute. It's not a matter of how far it goes. It's a matter of preserving the very minimal overall cuts that were made before that we were told we would build on. And one of my big concerns, and I'm sure it's a big selling point for Democrats, is, look, we've been trying to bust the sequestration cuts that were made, and I agree the military shouldn't have taken the biggest cut. They've been cut dramatically. But for Democrats, the great selling point is, look, this gets the Republicans to give up on the little bit of cuts they've already made. Once we do this bill, Republicans can never again say, well, we can't go back on the sequestration cuts on that level again. We'll never be able to stand there because basically it's, the old discussion of, gee, what do you think I am, a prostitute? Well, we've established what you are now. We're negotiating.
So, Congressman,
and that's kind of where this is.
I mean, so are you saying that you would prefer another government shutdown over agreeing with this bill?
No, I don't want to shut down at all. And once people take an objective look at what happened, we compromised over and over and over 3 times, including just finally capitulating. Look, here are our negotiators. You appoint yours, Harry Reid. He wouldn't even bring that to the floor. So he wanted a shutdown. He got a shutdown. It didn't appear as good as he thought it did.
Right, but now
we
moving
want to negotiate, but we agreed on the sequestration cuts. We agreed on that level. I'm okay with moving things around. I think that's a great thing. Let's move it around and be more wise in where we make the cuts. But to do away with those cuts that were that level for this year, and this year is the only year we can count on, that's not where we should be going.
But the problem, Congressman, is that Paul Ryan, I mean, widely considered the budget hawk and wonk of Congress, he spent 2 years spearheading this and cobbling it together. If what he came up with isn't good enough, where do you go from here?
Well, we've proposed budgets, other alternative budgets to the Ryan budget. I think 26 years was too long to wait for the balance, to get a balanced budget. But also keep in mind, Allison, that this is the budget. It doesn't appropriate any money. So once this passes, then you've still got to get an appropriations bill passed before January 15th to avoid a shutdown. And once you've compromised on your principle, and I think making meaningful cuts was a principle, and doing it this year, I don't think doing away with the cuts this year and hoping for them in out years is a very good way to go. I'm still willing to compromise. There are things we could compromise and accomplish, but it needs to be a real two-way street, not have the Democrats say, let's bust the sequestration caps that we had already agreed to.
Yeah.
That's just not a good compromise when you're talking about young people coming up, having trillions of debt already, just adding trillions more by the time that they have to pay for it all. It isn't right. It's not moral.
Okay, Congressman Louis Gohmert, always great to have your perspective on this. Thanks so much.